Well, week 15 of the NFL starts this week on Friday when the Rams will take on the 49ers. Last week I ended up with a record of 10-3, 10 out of 13. Previous week coming off of 16 out of 16 games. My tipping has been incredible. I actually don't have a Chiefs jersey with me today. It's not that the Chiefs lost and that's why I'm wearing something different, because I've been amazing at wearing a Chiefs jersey this season besides that one time. But yeah, I don't have an NFL jersey, so yeah, let's get into my NFL week number 15 pick. Starting off with the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Los Angeles Rams. Now the Niners, even with their injury and falling apart, they had a nice win over the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have been losing games by very close margins and losing unluckily. And in this game, a lot of people thought the Bears might be able to get this win just because they're full strength and the Niners are banged up. But it was the Niners absolutely destroying this team. Their rookies came in, did a job, and a complete team performance. As for the LA Rams, they conceded a massive 42 points against the Bills in the highest scoring game of the year, but they did beat the Bills in LA, which is such a big result for this Bills team that have been arguably the best team in the AFC this season, at least so far. The Rams, they are going to take a lot of confidence out of this. Puka Nacua had a massive day out and he's going to take that into the 49ers. Players like George Kittle, Isaac Guerrero, they're going to step up for the Niners at home here. Who do I think is going to win this one? I think it's going to be very close, but I'm actually going to go with the LA Rams here. I think they've got more to play for, in my opinion. Both these teams are sort of hanging by a thread, but the Niners are in a better position to try and make the playoffs, whereas the Rams, they sort of have to win out each game. A great offense performance the other day, and their defense stopped Buffalo in the end quite a lot as well. Towards the end there, they were able to get that win due to their defense. So yeah, I'm going to go with the LA Rams to win this one to start the week by 6. Next up at Carolina, it is the Carolina Panthers hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Now the Cowboys led the Bengals. It was a back and forth contest, and then the Bengals got the win in the end, arguably off a really silly error. The blocked punt from the Cowboys, giving the Bengals back the ball. And the Cowboys before this, they went back-to-back victory. Obviously no Dak Prescott for the season, but they're playing okay. They're playing better than they were at the midpoint of the season. This is not the team that we saw at the middle of the season. In this back half, they've been playing a lot better, in my opinion. They take on a Panthers team who, they've only got 3 wins this year, but they've had some really good performances, and I loved the way they played against the Philadelphia Eagles. I said it would be a close game, and it ended up being, I think, a 6-point game. I think I tipped them by 10. I said that the line here at 12.5 is way too big, but as for this game, I think it will be tight, but I'm going to go Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers to get another win here at home. I just think they're playing really well, and they can contain this Dallas team, and they can score more points than them. I do think it'll be very close, but I am going to tip the Carolina Panthers by 2. Next up, it is the Cleveland Browns at home taking on the Kansas City Hoodoo Magic Chiefs. This season has been weird, crazy, and our defense just has not been on in recent games that I have been watching, at least. A lot of people blaming the refs, but it's not just the refs, it's just weird things happening in the game leading to us getting victories. Yeah, there's some calls that go our way as well, but there's a lot of different factors, and we don't deserve to be in this position that we have been. We could lock up the first seed very soon, which is absolutely crazy. But as for this game, the Browns, they haven't been the greatest this season. Jameis Winston has had some really great games, some really bad games, been so up and down. How's he going to go against someone like Patrick Mahomes, someone so consistent? That's the worry. But the O-line for the Chiefs needs to be better. The offense was not great against the Chargers, in my opinion. We led that game 13-0. It ended up being 14-13, and it ultimately walked away with a walk-off field goal doing victory. But I think we win this game in a close one. I've been tipping bigger scores for Kansas City. I thought we'd actually beat the Chargers by a considerable margin. I'll say a touchdown here, a touchdown score. Kansas City win by 1 possession once again. Kansas City beat Cleveland by 7 points. Next up, it is the Houston Texans coming off the bye, taking on the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins were able to beat the New York Jets last week. As for this game, it's an interesting one. The Dolphins, they need to sort of win their games, and a lot of things need to go their way to still make the playoffs. Still a bit of a dangerous team, in my opinion. They're playing a little bit better than they were at the start of the year. I don't think that they are competitive enough to make the playoffs, in my personal opinion, but they are trying, and that's the position they're in. And they take on a Texans team who seems to be out of form. They look a little bit better in their last game. They're still not that great, and there's still some injuries to this side as well, which are crucial. But look, I'm going to go the Houston Texans at home. I don't trust Miami to go on this massive run and make the playoffs, so I think it comes to an end almost here. You can almost write Miami off after this one. I just think CJ Stroud and the Texans are going to get this one by 10 points. Next up, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the New York Jets, and the Jets season has been weird and awful and weird. Taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who beat the Tennessee Titans. The Titans were leading the game pretty much all game. And then Jacksonville, with 15 minutes to play, went, you know what? We actually want to win this game. We want to come out and win this game. And that's what they did. So it wasn't a great performance at all by Jacksonville, but they were able to get a much-needed win for their fans. But look, they take on a Jets team who, there's a few injuries to the Jets, but their offense has been playing better. And not great, but good. It's been playing good offense. And that's why I think the Jets are going to get this win on the road. I think they could win by a big margin here, but I am going to go with the Jets to win by 8. I can see this game getting more of a blowout sort of score. I heard that Aaron Rodgers may be out for this one. That'd be a big out for the Jets, but I still think they've got enough to get this one done. So yeah, I think the Jets win on the road. Next up, the New Orleans Saints will take on the Washington Commanders. And if I'm not wrong, I think both of these teams did have the bye last week. If not, I think the Saints are coming off a loss. They're not great this year. Started off, week 1 and 2, they were okay. But the Washington Commanders, they got back in the victory a couple of weeks ago, coming off a bye. They had this great middle part of the season, and then they had 2 losses before they were able to get back a win. And they need to do something here. They really need to do something to show that they're a contender once again, because right now you could put them in that pretender category. But we've seen the best of Washington, but I feel like they may have peaked too early, in my opinion, compared to teams like the Eagles. I'm going to tip the Washington Commanders to win this game by 11 points on the road. They should be too good for the Saints. The New York Giants will host the Baltimore Ravens at New York. And as for this game, the Ravens coming off the bye, coming off a loss as well as the Philadelphia Eagles. We know this team loves to bounce back, and I think they will bounce back in style. I don't trust the Giants to get the win here at all, and let alone keep this game close. I'm going the Ravens by 18 points on the road. Next up, it is the Tennessee Titans taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Titans, I think they match up nicely against the Bengals. I'm not going to lie. I know their offense isn't amazing, but I think against Cincinnati's awful defense, this could be a good matchup. Cincinnati were able to get a 7-point win against the Cowboys. Easily could have lost that game, and I mean, they haven't been playing great, the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're now like a 2% chance or something to make the playoffs, or 10%, looking very, very poor for them. As for this game, although I think Tennessee are a chance of winning this one, I think Cincinnati get it on the road. They got on the road last week. I think they get it back-to-back on the road. I think they win decent. I do think their offense is better than the Tennessee Titans. And although I think the Titans' defense can stop it sometimes, I think ultimately the Bengals are going to break through. Joe Burrow is going to have those big moments. So, yeah, I think Cincinnati win by 9 points. Next up, it is the Arizona Cardinals, a team that I hate right now. I'm sick of tipping you and you let me down against teams like the Seahawks twice this season. You're my bogey team, and I don't want to tip you again, taking on the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots have been playing a lot better. They've been finding a bit of form. Even if they're not getting the win, they're putting in some really good performances. A couple of those games, though, they play all right, and then they just kick away and just fall apart. But I don't mind what I've seen from the Patriots overall this season compared to teams like the New York Giants. But I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. Watch them lose this game because I picked them. It's just ridiculous at this point this season. They're frauds for mine and don't deserve their division title if they do end up winning it. But the Arizona Cardinals to win this game by 7 points because I just don't trust them. Next up is going to be a good game. This is going to be a great game, actually. It's the Denver Broncos taking on the Indianapolis Colts, and the Denver Broncos have had a great season, look to play in the playoffs this season, be a wild card pick. Have succeeded expectation. Bo Nix could even potentially win Rookie of the Year. It's between him and Jaden Daniel, so we'll see who can deliver in the last couple of weeks. This Colts team matches up really well against Denver, in my opinion, and Anthony Richardson, he is going to be running in this game. This is going to be a really good game. It's a tough one to pick as well. There was this big part of me that thinks it could be an upset here in which the Colts get the win, but being in Denver, being at home, I think they're coming off the bye, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I just think Denver are a little bit too good for the Colts and will pretty much end their season as well because they need to win this game to stay alive. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos in a close one here. Denver Broncos by 6. Next up is the Detroit Lions taking on the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a massive matchup. This is a massive potential Super Bowl preview. The AFC, NFC, two of the greatest teams this season. You've got the Bills, who are coming off a loss to the Rams, going in as heavy favorites after a massive week of wins. I think they won like 6 games in a row, taking on the Detroit Lions, who have a record of 12-1 this year. They have been absolutely unreal. In the last couple of weeks, they have been a bit shaky, but even when they've been shaky, they've been able to turn that around. They've been able to get those wins on the back of players like Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, David Montgomery. So yeah, there's some big signs there. As for the Bills, they have just exceeded expectation and become such a powerhouse this year, but they need to bounce back in this game. And it's going to be so tough for them to do it against this Detroit Lions team in Detroit on the road. Now, I have Detroit as my Super Bowl pick. I've been saying it all season. I'm sticking with it, and I almost feel like they're just not going to lose another game this year. This Bills team, they're a team that know how to bounce back. Will they go back-to-back losses, though, is the question. The way Josh Allen has been playing is like an MVP candidate. He's going to win the MVP. And you know what? He's going to win in Detroit. Yeah, I think he's going to win. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing in the Super Bowl. We'll wait and see. In this game, though, bounce back Bills. I'm tipping the Bills to upset the Detroit Lions in a massive upset by 2 points. I think that the Detroit Lions have looked a little bit shaky in the last couple of weeks. When they get shaky, the Bills come over the top of them, and it is the Buffalo Bills getting a massive win in Detroit this week. Next up, the LA Chargers will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at SoFi. And as for this game, although both these teams are playing pretty well, the Chargers, for mine, are playing a lot better. They weren't great against the Chiefs to start that game, so they need to get off to a better start. Their defense at home has been very good this year. I've seen it live, and I'm going to tip the LA Chargers to beat the Bucks by 3 points. This next game is going to be an absolute cracker. There's some great matchups between the 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock slot, but the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another great AFC, NFC battle. The Eagles are on a 9-game win streak. It is incredible what they have done this season, especially for someone who talked shit about them at the start of the year and said that they don't look like the team of last year, of 2 years ago. But they look great, and they look like they could be on their way potentially back to the Super Bowl. The Steelers, man, their season, it's tough because they haven't played the greatest of competitors, and they leaked 38 points against Cincinnati. And look, they scored 44. Cincinnati's defense is awful. So it's hard to get that read on the Steelers. But this is an important game for Pittsburgh. And although the Eagles are pushing for a number 1 seed in the NFC, if the Lions were to lose, which I'm obviously predicting, I don't know who to pick for this game. I've ummed and ahed all week. It is in Philly. That gives Philly favourite. Saquon Barkley so hard to stop. Can the Steelers defense stop Saquon Barkley? Can anyone stop Saquon Barkley? I'm going to say no. Eagles, I've picked it. Philadelphia win by 5 points. It's going to be a really good game. I have this feeling that the Steelers are going to be absolutely up for it on the road and probably lead the game at some point, just like that game against the Ravens. But ultimately, I think Philly, I don't know, but I think Philly are just going to win. Next up at Lumen Field, the Green Bay Packers will travel to take on the Seattle Seahawks, who shut out the Arizona Cardinals once again. They've done it twice within a month. So they are destroying that team, and then they're playing pretty good football for the most part over there in the NFC. A little bit of a dark horse at the moment, but I don't think they're a team that can win it all. Taking on the Green Bay Packers, and the Packers have been playing very well. I can't remember if they won or lost last week. They may have had the bye, but yeah, they've been pretty good. I think they're in about the 5th or 6th seed right now, and they have the potential to finish higher if things start to go their way. Can they get this win on the road in Lumen? It's going to be tough for them, but I am going to tip the Green Bay Packers to win this one in a close game because Seattle's defense has been getting better. I'm going to go with Green Bay to win by 4. Next up, it is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears, and I just don't know what the Bears are going to do for the rest of this season. Are they even going to bother going out on the field anymore? Because it's just the same thing, and I feel so sorry for the Bears fans. As for Minnesota, they were in a tied game in Atlanta. They're in a tied game against Atlanta, and then they're able to kick away towards the end there and win by quite a big score. As for this game, I think they'll be too good for the Bears. I think they're a very good team this year, Minnesota. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to win by 9. And finishing off with Monday Night Football, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Ouch, this is just not a great game for Monday Night Football. But anyway, you've got the Raiders and the Falcons. Kirk Cousins coming off a loss against the Vikings. He's thrown for touchdowns at least in this game. Compared to what he was doing previously. And the Raiders, I just don't even know where to go with the Raiders. I would like to see the Raiders get a win. It's been a long time, it feels like, for the Raiders, but I think the Falcons win this one. I think they win fairly comfortably because I just think the Raiders are going to look towards next year now, and I think there's going to be a lot of changes come the off-season. I'm going to tip the Atlanta Falcons to win by 12 points. My tips for the NFL, guys, make sure you like this video and comment your tips below. Obviously, 2 weeks ago, 16 from 16. Last week, 10 out of 13. Picking a couple upsets here. I do like a value of the Steelers to cover some sort of line against the Philadelphia Eagles. If you can get like a line of 7.5, I just think the Steelers can cover that particular line. I don't mind the Bills at about $2.05. I think they will drift at price, so watch them to rise for about maybe $2.15, $2.20. But yeah, some great matchups this week. Really looking forward to it. And then we get into some Christmas football. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.